Hello, my name's Michelle Sandos-Dennis, Director of the Planning Unit with CARES of New York, Inc. Today, I will provide a brief overview of the FY 2018 Continuum of Care Program Competition NOFA. This webinar was developed specifically for COC membership, COC board members, and community stakeholders. CARES developed this webinar because we believe it is our responsibility as collaborative applicant to provide clear and concise information on the NOFA to the full community to ensure the COC process is community-centered and transparent. Today's presentation provides a summary of the 2018 NOFA in a brief, succinct format. This presentation will discuss HUD's 4 policy and program priorities, will detail funding available through the 2018 NOFA, and highlight important details. It will also highlight the COC application process and requirements, discuss new changes and opportunities, and will end with a review of the COC application criteria. Because the NOFA details a variety of important topics, CARES has produced a series of webinars to cover specific topics in more detail. Additional webinars include presentations focused on the permanent housing bonus, the DV bonus, and new opportunities for renewal projects. These webinars are already available on CARES' newly updated website. Additionally, CARES will provide a new and returning user eSNAPS training to aid both returning agencies and those who will be using eSNAPS for the first time. CARES will also provide an in-person and record a new project webinar to encourage both COC and non-COC funded agencies to apply for available reallocated and/or bonus dollars. Before detailing HUD's policy and program priorities, it's important to have a clear definition of the COC program and its goals. The COC program is designed to promote a community-wide commitment to the goal of ending homelessness. The program provides funding to nonprofits, states, and local governments to quickly rehouse homeless households while minimizing the trauma and dislocation caused by homelessness. The program promotes access to and effective utilization of mainstream programs by homeless households to optimize self-sufficiency. To better understand how HUD develops the NOFA criteria and application process, the NOFA documents HUD's 4 homeless policy and program priorities. The first is ending homelessness for all persons. To meet this priority, HUD expects COCs to identify, engage, and effectively serve all persons experiencing homelessness. COCs should measure performance based on local data and use data to determine those with the highest needs and longest experiences of homelessness in order to develop housing and services to support the need. HUD encourages COCs to use the reallocation process to meet this priority. The second priority is creating a systematic response to homelessness. HUD expects COCs to use performance measures to determine how effectively they are serving people who are homeless. Using measures such as the average length of homeless episode, rates of return to homelessness, and rates of exit to permanent housing can provide this picture. HUD encourages the COC to use a coordinated entry process to coordinate assistance and housing services to ensure people who are experiencing homelessness receive assistance quickly. The third priority is to strategically allocate and use resources. HUD encourages COCs to use cost, performance, and outcome data to improve how resources are utilized to end homelessness. Review of project quality, performance, and cost effectiveness is key. HUD specifically notes COCs should review all 2018 renewal projects to determine their effectiveness in serving people experiencing homelessness, including cost effectiveness. The fourth priority is the use of a housing first approach. HUD expects funded agencies to help homeless households move more quickly into permanent housing, and the COC should measure and help projects reduce the length of time people experience homelessness. HUD also encourages COCs to engage landlords, remove barriers to entry, and adapt client-centered service methods. HUD's policy and program priorities are the base of how HUD scores the COC and project applications. Before diving into the application process, it's important to highlight available funding and note important competition deadlines. In FY 2018, the NOFA notes there is approximately $2.1 billion available, and then lays out important deadlines that must be met in order to successfully apply for the funding. Beginning with the most important deadline, and the deadline that all other deadlines are based off of, the full consolidated COC application is due to HUD on September 18, 2018. 3 additional HUD required deadlines revolve around local competitions and focus on project application submission, project notification, and COC transparency. HUD requires and scores COCs on developing and following a local competition and provides an outline of minimum deadlines. Regarding project application submission, all project applications are required to be submitted within eSNAPs no later than 30 days prior to the application deadline. For project notification, it is required that the COC notify project applicants no later than 15 days prior to submission of the full application regarding approval or denial within. When focusing on transparency, HUD requires that COCs ensure transparency throughout the process and requires all parts of the application be made available at least 2 days prior to the submission deadline. I would like to note that CARES works with each community to develop more stringent guidelines and deadlines on all 3 of the required timelines. This has allowed all of the COCs that CARES works with to receive not only excellent scores within this area, but has also allowed for a more transparent process and better overall score. Please review your COC's timeline and ensure that if you are submitting project applications, that you do so on or before the required timeline. Now to highlight the application process. The COC registration is the beginning of the competition and application process. Details on the registration are released prior to the NOFA. During registration, the collaborative applicant, CARES, reviews the prior year's information for the COC and either submits changes or carries the following year's information forward. This is also the time that if Unified Funding Agency designation is requested by the continuum, the collaborative applicant applies. The COC project review and ranking is the next piece of the process. Every community conducts this process differently, but begins work on the review and redevelopment of the process in February. Running at the same time, the next piece of the process is the release of the NOFA and the COC consolidated application. The COC consolidated application is all within HUD's electronic system eSNAPs. The collaborative applicant is responsible for submitting the application. The COC application is one part of the consolidated application. It contains information about the COC planning body, governance structure, overall performance, and the strategic planning process. This part of the application is scored and determines the order in which COCs are funded nationwide. The COC priority listing is the second piece and contains two required pieces of the application. It contains the project applications, which are completed by the project grantee, and are then placed in rank order using continuum of care rank and review process. Planning projects and UFA project applications are within the priority listing but are not ranked. Additionally, the COC priority listing includes an attachment of the certification of consistency with the consolidated plan. CARES is required to create a summarized list of all projects and present it to the local municipality for review and approval. Before highlighting changes and opportunities detailed in the NOFA, I would like to take a moment to review project tiering. Tiering is a result of the rank and review process and is detailed in the NOFA. Similar to the past few years, the 2018 NOFA describes the COC's requirement to tier projects into two categories based on the COC's annual renewal demand. The annual renewal demand is the sum of the annual renewal amount of all projects within the continuum that are eligible to apply for renewal in that fiscal year's competition. This is the amount before any adjustments are made for rental assistance, leasing, and operating lines based on the fair market rent changes. In 2018, Tier 1 is 94% of the continuum's annual renewal demand. Tier 2 is 6%, plus any bonus dollars that are being requested. HUD specifically excludes planning projects and Unified Funding Agency projects from this tiering process. This slide documents each of the continuums that CARES works within and lists the annual renewal demand, Tier 1, the amount for your bonus, and the amount available for the new DV bonus. The consolidated application has a total of 200 points with an additional 25 bonus points. Bonus points are only available for COCs that merged between FY16 and FY18. The current slide notes the 6 criteria areas that combine to equal 200 points. In this presentation, we will only provide a brief overview of what HUD is reviewing within each of the criteria. Detailed criteria with specific point breakdowns can be found on pages 50 to 69 of the NOFA. When looking at the first area, COC coordination and engagement, HUD focuses on 5 important areas. 1, the COC's ability to demonstrate coordination with other systems of care, including funding sources other than COC. 2, developing and operating an inclusive and outcome-oriented community process, which includes representatives from both private and public sectors. 3, how the COC develops and operates a fair and impartial project review and selection process. And 5, that the COC has created and maintained and built upon a community-wide inventory of housing for homeless households. This section is worth 48 points. The next section, Project Capacity Review and Ranking, is worth 29 points. In this section, HUD focuses on the COC's ability to demonstrate the existence of a coordinated, inclusive, and outcome-oriented community process for the solicitation, objective review, ranking, and selection of project applications. In section number 3, criteria number 3, Homeless Management Information System, HUD focuses on the COC's ability to demonstrate the existence of a functioning HMIS. This is worth 13 points. Under the next criteria, point in time, HUD focuses on the ability of the COC to collect, use, and submit data for the 2018 point in time. This is worth 6 points. The system performance criteria is worth 56 points and is the most important criteria to HUD this year. This criteria focuses on the COC's ability to demonstrate that they monitor and are responsible for a COC system-wide performance related to reducing homelessness. The last criteria, performance and strategic planning, is worth 48 points. HUD awards points to COCs that can demonstrate that a plan has been developed and progress has been made toward reducing homelessness throughout the COC. As noted, HUD does require documentation for all information that is asked within the application, and requires that documentation is attached to the consolidated application. Regardless of what the narrative states within the COC narrative, if documentation to prove the narrative is not attached, the COC will receive no points for that area. So, there is the 2018 COC NOFA in a nutshell. Additional webinars are posted on our website and cover the DV bonus, the permanent housing bonus, and reallocation, and new opportunities for renewing projects. Thank you for participating in our webinar series, and please do not hesitate to contact CARES Planning staff with any questions or concerns. Thank you.